All right, ladies and gentlemen, traders, welcome back to another Relentless recap. Guys, if you're tuning in for the first time, consider subscribing as you watch throughout the video. Other than that, consider hitting that thumbs up button as well. Guys, day trading, as we know, is risky. Day trading is risky business. A lot of people here in the markets are having a hard time. So if you're new, or even if you've been around and you're not quite consistent, utilize the simulators, utilize risk money. Remember, the live streams and recaps are never an invitation to copy trade. There's a system here that we have, there's a strategy that we're trading, and there's a lot of different components. All right. Other than that, remember to be careful with the fake accounts, a lot of impersonators and scammers. I do not invest money for my subscribers. And remember, I will never message you first. Guys, you are seeing the thumbnail right now. Down 3K. Relentless trader. Big red today, guys. My biggest red start to the day that I've ever had. Down 3K on a crazy stock in VVOS. This thing literally went to the moon today. How in the world, Relentless, did you happen to lose money to start the day on a stock like this? Right? How did you go down 3K on a stock that is up 700, 800%? Guys, this coming into the open, I was going like this. I was smiling and I was just seeing green. And I was excited. I was ready for this thing to make a move. And this thing started off a little on the choppier side. And I got completely obliterated in almost every red candle on this thing in the first 15-20 minutes. Very frustrating, very disappointing. Wasn't able to get the foothold that I wanted to get on the stock to put it into that vice grip to be able to dominate the move as we went through and throughout the day. So on these red candles, right? Coming back, looking at it, some of my trades, I think I ultimately could have been a little quicker to cut once I wasn't seeing the immediate bounce. But in some areas, I was looking to give the stock a bit of a chance to, open up. And, whenever you decide to do that, you have to understand and accept the fact that there can and there will be at times unexpected drops. You can be buying and, hey, I'm looking to, watch for such and such risk, 15, 20 cent risk. But in the blink of an eye, boom, we're down 70 cents. And so if you get caught in these flushes, it can definitely set you back a tremendous amount on the day. And that's what happened to me in the beginning of the trading session. So this thing started off, we had a high point of 1250, a low of 1159. And from there, we surged up and we pushed up nicely to 1270. From there, the pullback gives back the entirety of the move here early. So from 70, we make new lows all the way down at 1132. So something that was working on this stock was the extended dips. You have the normal pullback and then the stock drops again. And that's what the key was on this one. Letting it really flush out and then being in. And if you were able to do that well, you could have positioned yourself nicely, even on this one candle, right? Let's say you're using 2K shares. Even on this one candle, from a low of 1115 to a high point of 1275, right there alone, in just those two candles is 4K if you can bottom and top tick in just that one area. And look at how crazy the stock went when we zoom out. So it really goes to show you the potential that is here if you can dial in the entries over and over and over without having too many issues, right? So I started off a little rocky and went down pretty deep, getting caught buying the dips too early. And so guys, that, of course, not all the time you're going to be able to bottom tick, top tick a stock, but that example there is just to show you the potential that this stock had if you were capturing the areas very well. Now, I'm watching at another one that was halted, RDHL at the time, I believe, and we started to get a red to green here. And this thing ended up, I started watching at it around, I believe, 11. It's so hard to remember. Or maybe 11:30, somewhere in this range anyhow. But, I was mentioning during the live stream that the entry down here for the breakdown and reclaim, right, of the whole dollar at 10, right? So we had a low, and we had a low of 10, and we broke down the level 987, and boom, bottoming wick right back up. Here's another good example of how massive the range was if you're capturing these opportunities. Low of 987, high of 1070. There's another dollar share. Again, we go back to that 2K share example. There's another 2K literally sitting right there. So, that was the type of stock that this was. Very aggressive, very volatile, very strong, but you had to really position yourself. And if you bought those dips early, it was brutal. So on the way up right here, the first 1 minute candle to make the new high back over to 200 EMA erupts from 75 into like an instantaneous halt at 11:58. Resumes, and the resumption here was a little tricky. I have to go back and check the archive here. Let's pull it up. And the pastor got caught. And we can watch some of these red trades as well. I wasn't planning on showing archives today, but we can. Looking good. I have like 4 different archives because I've traded the afternoon. So, it's got back green. Even the afternoon trades, man. Like, this stock was just something else. Like, it just sucks to have started so red and have to be so, you know, let's say cautious to not go deeper, right? Because it's like damage control. Let's size down a bit. Let's try and recover, rather than just, hey, we're connecting. Let's go all out, full size. Full sizing this for me would have been like 3-4K shares. I would have went for it if I was connecting, but being that I was already down so much, if I size up like that and happen to have, some big losses, or let's just say getting caught in a few flushes, just like that, you're down 10K on a day. You should be up a crazy amount, right? So, I mean, just insane stuff. So yeah, coming back to some of those losses, my first loss I think was on my side. I'm watching here. So we get the high of 1250. I'm watching here to see what this thing wants to do. And let's see here. Right here, right here, I was thinking a quick pullback, a quick tight pullback for a rip over 70, because we started to erupt, we started to move very quickly, the pace was coming in, right? The pace, that volatility. But I was too aggressive here for that breakout, and I ended up buying early. So watch this. I'm waiting, I'm waiting. I'm gonna go in thinking that we're gonna start to curl, and immediately it flushes. The moment I try to buy here, but I already knew in my head it was possible we pulled back a little bit more. And so, getting caught here, I think, was kind of on my side. 2K shares, we tried to get the fill coming out at 17, and boom, just like that, you start the day, you get a bigger loss. All right, okay, cool, no problem. And here's, I think, is what I need to do a better job on a lot of these stocks is, if I'm in early, getting back in aggressively, well, not aggressively in terms of like size, but like getting back in on the extended dip, which is what this is down here towards the VWAP. And you can see from 50, look at how nicely that bounced up there to 30 to 1230. So in this moment for me, it's more like, hey, the area that I thought we were going to hold didn't really work. Let me make sure that the stock is actually still good. But instead of like waiting to see us hold this bottom as confirmation, just taking it as the trade that, like, that we're seeing, right? So the moment we start to hold those lows in and looking for the bigger move. So let's skip ahead a little bit. Looks like we had a small scratch trade somewhere here. Let's skip ahead to the bigger losses that we had. So it ended up pulling back. Low was 1145. 67 by 86, 71 fill. And so right here, it's a similar. The drop is not as dramatic, but it's somewhat similar to the other trade where I noticed them in a little high, and here's another thing too, right? Like when we come down, this 50, like below there's 45, but we have 54 by 82. I know if I hit market, I'm going to be in at 82. So this right here puts me in a bit of a predicament where I want to be back in. So sometimes this is the case too. You want to be back in, but that spread is so brutal that if you get that high fill, you're gonna have to be risking the full 40 cents. But yeah, so let's see, how well does this curl up over time, right? From 11.45, we get back to 12 eventually. It looks like it consolidates in here for a while. And I take 45 this time. So I like this entry right here. I take 45 this time, and it just flushes down without any warning. So right here, my risk, I'm looking for like a 20, 30 cent risk at max. So in at 39, if I risk 20, 30 cents, I'm coming out at 11.10, 11.20. This thing is going to drop from 45 all the way. So, okay, 25 on the bid. We're seeing some buyers. I'm not quite worried yet. I'm watching that lower 20s, high teens. Again, like, worst case 11.10. But the bids just got pulled right there. This trade, I love this trade. I mean, the only thing I can do here is take the loss like I did. So very disappointing there to see the resumption, the halt rather, the halt. So right here, I'm like, I'm wondering if this stock is on the backside. So I start to check out RDHL for a 5-minute setup. And initially it was looking decent. I'm in very well. There's a big bid. I'm in 3,000. I'm up $200 unrealized. And I'm watching for 95 and then $3 for a retest of the VWAP level. It doesn't even get there. I sold, I think, 1,000 shares. I think I was in 3,500. Yeah, I was in 3,500, average of 82.70. So right here at 91, I'm gonna sell a little bit, and then I sold a little bit more around 87, and then the rest I essentially stopped out break even because this thing ended up coming right back down. So that was a good attempt right there. But as I was mentioning, watching this one and then this bottoming wick kind of happened here. This thing is already curling up and looking fairly decent. So let's come back to it. I think down here I could have probably been a little bit more aggressive to jump in over the VWAP level, but in the grand scheme of things, in this like point in time, I've looked away. I'm coming back to it. I'm still thinking it's potentially on the backside. We're at the 200 EMA. We could reject the level. Wasn't looking to be super aggressive here, but over 11, I think, is where this thing is going to erupt. So there's 11.10, 20. I think it boosted up out of nowhere here. Kind of boost. So it's already active though. You can see that it's active. Volume is coming in. For me, I think this is just not being it didn't really boost up. It was kind of gradual. For me, I think this right here is just not being in a good sync with it. Already being red, trading something else, coming back. Again, this, if you're really watching this breakdown to 10, it's already for me how I'm seeing this in terms of a sequence, because I use that phrase a lot. Hey, Relentless, what is a sequence, right? Well, the start, middle, and end of a move. And I felt like this is the beginning, like, this bottoming wick, dip trade back up was the beginning of the move. And break of 75 was an area also where I could have potentially entered, but I wasn't aggressive there. And just like that, I'm on my heels, missing this sweet move going into a halt. So let's fast forward on the resumption. So we got halted at 11:58. We're going to resume. This might be a long recap, I tell you. We resume at 11:89. There's 75. It doesn't really dip. There's 75 again. It's 80. Right here, I expected to see the move over the level. We didn't quite see it. So let's look at that again. High was at 89, so there's 95. We pull back to 75 right here. I take the long looking for the break of 12, but I got a super high fill, watching for, 85, 75 entry. I'm in at 97, no, 96.29. I'm in at 96. So I'm in high. We don't get the move. I'm like, I need to cut this trade. I think this is a good sell. It hits 65. Right here, I'm expecting it to pull back because usually on the resumptions, it's like instant. So I'm watching to see if we get the dip, but we don't get the dip. It pushes up to 12. What is it going to do? You can see it's choppy here, right? It gets to 12, right back down. Very tricky area here. So this resumption wasn't really a great resumption, I don't think. This is not a great trade. I think this is not a great trade here. And so what ended up happening, I think I shift my, yeah, this is not a great trade. I ended up shifting my bias here, thinking we can still hold and then get the move. But I think this is too aggressive of an entry because we're still in the resumption and we haven't flushed yet. So if it doesn't go, we're gonna flush here. So I don't really like this trade looking back at it. Cut it scratch, but should have avoided that trade completely. And taking it again here is like asking for trouble, you know? It's just too choppy. I think it's best to let it either go up or down and then make the decision from there. So there's a 15,000 share seller at 80. Let's fast forward a bit. Okay, so we took a loss somewhere here. Hold up. Hold up. So there's a 15,000 share seller at 80. 13,700. So okay, we get through the level. 82 on the bids. Okay, so right here I'm buying for the break of 12 for the breakout trade. 90. Yeah, not good. I could have been out of that, right? I could have been out of that. I could have been out of that faster. I think I gave it too much time, a little too much conviction, because we had a low below the original level, I think which was 75 or so. We had 60, we held 60, we broke over that small seller. Right here I'm thinking really good chance we should go. I like the fill of 82. I like the fill of being in at 82, which is the lower side here of this range, right? 82 by 96. But again, the breakout trades are instant trades, in or out, in or out. If in and out, if it's not going, breakout or bailout. So watching back at this, I could have avoided this particular trade here for sure. Some of the other ones, not so much, but this one in particular. So this is going to be a $700 loss, brother. And then to make matters worse, if I'm being so this is how the fine line comes into play, right? If I'm thinking more so, it's and this is how I should be thinking, because remember, the halt trade is an instant trade. The moment it opens up around that area of like 1170, 1180, 1190, once we start to hit 12, we should be at 1250, like on a stock like this right away. So this entire area here is like a consolidation, and again, it would have been best to avoid the chop and just wait for the direction up or down. So the moment it flushes down like this, as long as I feel like the halt level down is not too close, I could be buying it instantly. So in the other area, we could have done a better job being more patient. And even if we take the trade, again, being more aggressive to just buy back that extended dip to get that sweet move back up. So right here, the thought process, if I'm a little bit more patient, hey, let this thing choose a direction, then I'll go long. More than likely, I'll be buying this dip. And this dip is instant. So instead of being in at 80, hey, high or low. And that's something I say a lot, right? High or low. High or low. Over the highs or low. And look at how good this looks. Now, the only thing here is that the halt down and the market and the bid price, there's not a ton of orders here. There's not a lot of depth. So this could essentially go straight into a halt down if there's a little bit more selling. And in which case there's the false halt entry, but this is going to turn out to be a pretty good dip. Yeah, I mean, the bid snaps back almost immediately. I take the loss, and immediately here, this thing is going to moon. So it's like one of those things again where it's like, okay, I'm getting chopped out. Let's kind of make sure this thing's actually good, but in the process, missing the trade, right? So it pushes up aggressively, and then it ended up giving a bigger pullback here. So let's see how this pullback here played out. So from 1245, there's 1230, and I think this is a decent pullback because we ended up coming from a low of 1115. If you go from 1115 to 1245, you gotta expect some sort of pullback, right? But this is a pretty deep pullback, I will say. This is kind of a little much, but it does provide the opportunity. I'll let the next 30 seconds here play. This is a pretty serious dip though, because it dips to 60 first, and it looks like it's a decent place. But from 60 you do get it comes down to how quickly you're willing to take profits. Let's say you're in a good fill 70. It gets up to 12. It's like if you want to say right here, I'll take 12. Maybe you take half, right? Because from 70 to 12. And then again, it comes down to the fills. If you're buying the bid and you could have gotten a great fill, you can get out here 95 or 12 on the ask. Because we do quickly go to 12, 10, 12, 20. So right here, if you're able to get out from, let's say, 75 entry, 80 entry, this is a good trade. But if you're thinking, okay, let me see how well it wants to do, if it wants to get back to the highs, boom, or it's, maybe you're in at 75 and you're stopping out here for 20-cent loss if you haven't sold already, right? Unless you're willing to give it that, really big room. But this is going to end up providing a bigger extended dip entry here. 28.30, coming down around the VWAP area. It's going to provide a bigger dip. And from 30, we go back to 70 on the ask. So not bad. But again, you have to be quick. You have to be really in there, locking in for those trades. But yeah, that's how the morning went. The past store. And this was so frustrating here, man. So, let's see. This was super frustrating. Volume a little on the lighter side. Over 69, it starts to pick up. There's some more volume. And then boom, straight into that halt. Pastor, let's see. I'm gonna put on the audio here. It's gonna move like that. It's just it might be a little too much risk if it's to curl up over 12. There at one point. So here's a bit of a surprise move. So here's a bit of a surprise move. Why is the spread so big? It's a 60-cent spread there at one point. 50 cents. Why is the spread so big? So here's a bit of a surprise move. So, even on the live stream at one point, I think I mentioned like so many different things have to like go bad, and for me to like not do well on a stock like this. And seeing this spread open up like that, it's gonna like, it's gonna negatively affect my view of the stock here. And because I'm looking back with all the audio, I'm like, why did I not get aggressive at 12, which is something I usually would do. Why is the spreads? So, of course, hearing myself talking about the spreads, it's like, it looks like I was concerned about the spreads opening up again here, and this being a potential false breakout. Like, stuff like this, like, on one side, I could have been more aggressive on the other side, if the spreads don't open up like that, I'm much more confident to be getting in here, because the last thing I want to do now is to be in at 80 and then the spreads open up and it flushes down $1 a share. So again, I'm thinking a lot about the risk, but I think it's warranted, right? So I end up missing this move, and it's like, are you kidding me? Ah, yeah, yeah. This is just free money here if you're aggressive. I mean, well, we can't say it like that because the risk is very real. But you know, on a different scenario, slightly different scenario here. I can see myself being long at like 1180 here, 1175, because 1169 is the high of the candle. Like right here, 75, 80. Hey, how can we get the break of 12? Can we see the break of 12? Boom, you're selling into the halt 45. And it's so easy in the sense that I could have just hit the buy button with 2,500 shares at 75 and been up, 80 cents right there, and be making 2K on this one area, one trade. So, the circumstances, things do have to line up a little bit, but very frustrating to see that. Ay, 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 ay. We take the resumption trades initially were not really great for me. Let's come back. I'm grateful to have ended green on this stock, but it's like, don't worry though, the next one is not going to get so lucky. So let's go back here, 1251. There's a 20. Okay, I remember this resumption. This resumption, you have to be very aggressive. We kind of opened up sideways. There's a 30,000 share seller. The seller starts to get filled. So it dips slightly, and then the seller starts to get filled. You have to have punched it immediately here to be in. I didn't. Again, that's another trade. That's another trade I'd be taking if I'm on the more aggressive side of things. But very aggressive trade there, I think. But we take these trades, on a good day, we take these trades, right? We take them very fiercely. So from 1250 to, 1340, 90 cents. It pulls back right here. Can we hold up 1270 here? Can we hold up these lows? It pulls back. This ends up being an extended dip. So I like this trade here, but this ends up being an extended dip. I'm in 66. There's a big spread. Cutting this flat is not a bad idea. Let me watch that one more time. The spreads were huge, man. The spreads were huge. 1233, 1215 by 1250. So I cut it between this spread here. I think this was a decent attempt, but it ended up being a super big pullback, right? We pulled back to 1186. And here I was essentially down 3K. I tell you. Brought it back to down 500. And then the recap, what time? We're pushing 30 minutes already. Those were the losing trades. So, the losing trades are usually more important than the winning trades because we can see what to avoid and how to improve. And we saw that there were some areas where we could have been better. So, yeah, we made back some money, and the crazy thing is too is that I made back 2K with just 700 shares. This ended up being a sweet win here. Let's see. I think this breakout, there was a breakout somewhere. Maybe it was this big green candle. Yeah, because we were down 2.7. I gotta watch this back in more detail. I have to go to the gym. So I am doing a little bit more flip-flopping here, skipping through. Actually, you know what? Let's come all the way back. I want to see how this is gonna play out here. So we have the low 15. There's 72. Pretty decent dip. It's holding high. Ah, store. Big slacking on this one here. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. This is pretty good. I think I should have been long somewhere between like 80 and 95 here. It's quick, but there was time. But I think I mentioned at one point on the live stream a lot of hesitation, right? So, being down 3K and then like hesitating in some of the areas where I should be aggressive. I think this was one of those areas. And it's like, oh my gosh. Pastor will be back. Pastor will be back. Again, again, the third, fourth time I'm saying this already here. If I'm doing a better job, right? Because the confidence really comes from the accuracy. If I'm doing a better job, cutting some of those trades earlier, minimizing the risk, I think I'd be way more confident here to take these types of entries. It's the second guessing. Hey, let me wait a little bit more. Like, man, I mean, look, this doesn't get any sweeter than this, right? Because we end up, it's a breakdown reclaim essentially. We break down the level, we get back over the whole dollar here, 15. So from 90 to 20 is already a trade in there, right? It's not a huge trade, but you can get a nice 20 cents, 25 cents. But then we start to hold above the whole dollar. And it's the same setup all over again. Can we break and hold? And if we're holding, we need to be either holding still or be back in if we sold already. And boom, this is just gonna go here. Again, this is like the fifth time we're seeing like, even if whatever share size you're using, whether it's 500 shares, 1,000, 5,000, 10,000, if you're sharp, you're quick cutting the losses, you're mitigating, managing the risk well, and you're being very confident in the areas you're supposed to be buying, this is a 50K day if you're using 10K size. 5K size is $25,000 day, right? 2K size is the $10,000 day. And I'll be using 3-4 thousand on a stock like this when I'm connecting. So I know what's gonna happen pretty soon. But they're definitely a little disappointing to not capture this stock better. Hmm. There is progress because like a year ago, 2 years ago, being in a situation like this, I definitely end the day down like a huge amount like this. But fighting back, coming back to flat here, down $500, not bad. And then we ended up losing back. We kind of bled out slowly, trying to watch for breakout trades here. I thought it was showing nicely. We were curling up nicely, but we kept getting a lot of topping wicks. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I think being a little too aggressive in there for the next move, a little too tunnel vision. Sometimes you got to zoom out, watch the bigger picture, because right here the bigger picture is obviously saying, every time we come up, we're seeing a lot of selling, right? So just, hey, leave it alone. Watch those pullback entries. If not, just leave it alone completely and wait. Because if the stock gets halted up, chances are a ton of short sellers who are short in this area will be trapped. And more than likely, we'll see a continuation of the move, 25, 30. That's essentially what ended up happening later into the day. This is where I stopped recording, but right here we did curl back up. So the other recordings, the students will have access to it. So if you guys want to see the price action through and through, all the way up to $45, you can feel free to check out the archives. I think I have one more to upload. Man, And so when I got back green, I was using 600 shares, and it's like even those trades, again, if I'm positioning myself from early, doing all the right things from early, all those trades would be with 3K shares. And it's like the type of day that this is gonna be, man. Ladies and gentlemen, hit that thumbs up. I can keep going, but this might just be a 2 hour long recap. I'm gonna head to the gym, come back home, settle in, and then study up some more and be ready for tomorrow. Take care, stay safe, stay green. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Check out the links down below as well.